We finally have a playoff slate set for the United Football League after the regular season came to a close over the weekend. With that, we have the Brahmas playing against the Battlehawks at home in St. Louis for the XFL Championship. And then the Michigan Panthers will play against the reigning USFL champions, Birmingham Stallions, for the USFL title. In this video, I'll be breaking down each matchup and what we can expect from each team, as we saw essentially a preview for these games during Week 10. So, let's talk about it. Over the past few weeks that we've known of these matchups, the XFL title game was looking really good on paper. You have the two best defenses as well as the two best receivers in Hakeem Butler and Jontre Kirkland. We definitely saw the two defenses dominating the entire game over this last weekend, as they caused 3 turnovers before any offense could think about scoring and actually playing hot potato instead. However, once AJ McCarron started playing football again for St. Louis and Chase Garber was swapped out for Quinton Dormady like a Pokemon battle for San Antonio, the game would actually become a little more competitive, as AJ McCarron would throw a 22-yard dime to Steven Mitchell for a touchdown. But that would essentially be it for St. Louis, as the offense would have to rely on their kicker to carry them the rest of the way. AJ McCarron would end the day only completing 40% of his passes for 115 yards and that 1 touchdown. I will say the rushing attack was really solid for St. Louis, as both running backs for them combined for 91 rushing yards. But the rest of the offense would essentially struggle for the most part. When Quinton Dormady would come into the game though, he instead would instantly start helping switch the momentum for that offense with Jontre Kirkland, as they connected 7 times for 127 yards and that 1 touchdown. Running back Morgan Ellison was another key piece for this struggling offense, as he had 40 yards on the ground, including the 6-yard rushing score, being the first scorer for San Antonio. There would be a dramatic finish to this sloppy Week 10 game, as St. Louis would kick the game-leading field goal late in the 4th quarter. San Antonio would essentially try to answer back and as well win the game, as Quinton Dormady would throw a 37-yard bomb to Jontre Kirkland. Sadly, the Brahmas would fail on the game-winning 2-point conversion, leaving the Battlehawks the opportunity to not only win the game, but clinch home field advantage for the XFL title game. For the playoff game itself, we're essentially going to be looking at a similar situation like Michigan, as the Brahmas have yet to beat the Battlehawks after this loss, but also their Week 3 matchup when St. Louis won 31-24. Both of these teams have the potential to put up points on the board. We've seen it plenty of times, and both these teams are the only ones to really make Birmingham worry about losing a game, as San Antonio actually beat the Stallions and the Battlehawks barely lost 30-26. In my last video, I mentioned how Jake Bates was by far the best kicker in the United Football League and will get a future NFL contract. But that miss against Birmingham in Week 10 was such a heartbreak for Michigan fans. Despite the field goal, the rest of the game was an intense offensive back and forth classic. The Michigan Panthers were really hot at the start of the game, starting 16-6 midway into the 2nd quarter, and at that point, I was thinking they could actually pull this off in Birmingham. The Danny Etling and Siosa Mariner combo helped carry the offense for Michigan, as Danny had 230 total yards and 2 scores from each the air and the ground game, and Siosa had 7 catches for over 100 yards and that score from Danny. The defense was also a very big problem for Birmingham early on, as the defensive front combined with 5 sacks on the quarterback, with Javin White accounting for 2 of those sacks. Birmingham had an okay showing during that Week 10 matchup, which is not typical to see, as the Stallions team has absolutely dominated the spring football market. The offense surely had to adjust throughout the game, with Michigan's defense being in their face constantly, pressuring them so they couldn't run offense properly. Adrian Martinez, who's been named the UFL MVP throughout this season with his dual threat ability, had 163 yards, 50 completion percentage, and a touchdown, along with 41 rushing yards. The one real consistent piece though for Birmingham seemed to be running back CJ Marable in the backfield, as he did score the first 2 touchdowns for the Birmingham Stallions, along with having 85 total yards, with his ability to not only rush really good on the ground, but also go run a route and catch a pass out of the backfield. The game ended in a pretty dramatic fashion again after a back and forth defensive fourth quarter, Birmingham would march down the field and punch in the game-winning touchdown as Adrian Martinez would throw a 5-yard dime to tight end Jay Sternberger, adding another clutch play for Jace and the Stallions. And then we all know what happened, sadly. Jake Bates lines up, kicks, and misses. Now, Michigan and Birmingham are going to be playing again for the playoffs, and honestly, we're probably going to be seeing a similar game, mainly because in both of their matchups this year, Michigan has seemed to be the only team in the USFL conference to actually have some sort of success against the Stallions. But Michigan has always seemed to hurt themselves during important moments of these games, whether it was the Jake Bates missing the game-winning field goal, or it was the Panthers offense not converting a fourth down to tie the game. And that's not Birmingham's fault at all, as there's a reason that they've been the best team over the last 3 years in spring football, and it's not because they sneak wins. If Michigan is able to consistently dominate the Stallions for 4 quarters instead of just the first half, they definitely have an opportunity to cause a massive upset and would shock the United Football League spring football world. Alright, thank you so much for watching the video today. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like and subscribe button, as we'll be switching content soon, talking about the upcoming NFL season. Thank you so much, and have a good one.